Welcome back everyone to week 2 of the 10-week course. Today in our class our focus will be grounding. When we are stressed in life, we often don't feel grounded. It may feel like we are a leaf in the wind, blowing everywhere. We feel exhausted and unsteady. Society and the media often promote quick fixes for feeling stable, but in reality, developing an enduring experience of groundedness takes time. Yoga is a wonderful way to develop a feeling of being grounded, as it helps to relax our mind and strengthen our immune and nervous systems so that we feel more stable from the inside out. We also practice yoga in a way that specifically promotes an experience of grounding. This is what we're going to do today in 2 related ways. Firstly, we will notice the touch of the body with the ground and with the chair. We will imagine breathing up from parts of the body that are touching the ground as we inhale into the lungs, and then exhale from the lungs back down to the ground through those parts of the body that are touching the ground or on the ground. Let's start now in a chair. And if your feet are not touching the ground, you can either come forward a little bit in your chair or place a yoga block under the feet. Now take a moment to settle and notice how you feel right now. Start to connect with your breath and notice where you feel your breath. And notice the quality of your breath. Now feel the touch of your feet on the ground. And imagine inhaling from the ground into your feet, your legs, your lower belly and lower lungs. And exhale from your lungs down through your legs and feet and back down to the ground. Breathing up from the ground, from the feet to the lungs, and exhaling back down to the ground from the lungs to the feet. And continue with this practice in your own time. Continue with this breathing up and down from the ground throughout the class. But we're going to blink open our eyes now as we begin our posture practice. So bring the palms together in front of the heart, and as you breathe in, draw the palms wide, and as you breathe out, bring the palms together. Be aware of all the points of contact between your feet, hips, to the chair and to the ground. As you take the arms apart, feel yourself drawing the breath up from the ground and palms together, breathing back down to the ground. And now release the arms a little way away from the body and breathing in, draw the breath up from the ground. Turn the palms and float the arms down and take the breath back down to the ground. Inhale up through the feet, legs, hips to the lungs. Exhale back down to the ground. Trying to do all your breathing in and out through the nose unless the nose is blocked. Exhale back down to the ground. Give the arms a little shake. We're shrugging the shoulders now, breathing in, taking the shoulders forwards and up, and exhale back and down. Still breathing up and down from the ground as we shrug the shoulders. And then taking the right arm up, resting the left hand on the chair, and breathing out, side stretching. Stretching the right side of the body. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, breathe down to the ground. Inhale, breathe up from the ground, left arm up, and exhale, side stretch, the left side. Inhale up, exhale, arm down. And back on the right side. Exhaling down to the ground as you stretch. Inhale, up from the ground. Exhale, release. Just keep working with your own breath, breathing up and down from the ground. This is our final side stretch. Exhaling, lengthening the right side. Inhale, coming up. And exhale, stretching that same side for a second time. Inhale up. Exhale down. Breathing up from the ground through the feet to the fingertips. Exhale, stretch. Inhale up. Exhale, stretch. Inhale up. And exhale, release the arms down. And give the arms a little shake to release any tension. Fingertips on the tops of the shoulders now to circle the elbows. And again, breathing up from the ground as you do a big half circle, elbows forwards and up. Breathing down to the ground, exhale, elbows back and down. Keep the breath slow, smooth and steady. And then take the right hand on the back of the head and just let the head come forwards. And if it's okay for you, turning the head to look towards the left thigh. Breathing in up from the ground, lift the head, exhale, release, and left side. Nice stretch to the back of the neck here, and then this little rotation. And then this little rotation if you don't have any neck problems. Breathing in, turn the head, lift the head, and exhale, release. And now palms together, we're coming into a twist. Exhaling, turning to the right, release the hands down, turn the shoulders and the head. Breathing up from the ground through the center of the body, feel yourself getting a little taller, and as you exhale down to the ground, softening into the twist. Think of your spine as an axis and try to keep it as long and straight as possible. Next inhale, turn the head to look back into the room. Keep working in the same way. And then breathing in back to center, sit tall, and exhale down to the ground, softening into the twist on the other side. Inhale up from the ground, lengthen. Exhale down to the ground, soften and twist. Inhale, turning the head back into the room. Exhale, releasing into this twist in two directions. Inhale, coming back to the center. And exhale, hands on thighs and a little bow forwards to come back to the center line of the body. Breathing in, up from the ground, coming up, reaching back, just stretching the arms back or holding the chair, rolling the shoulders back, lifting and opening the chest as you breathe up and down from the ground. Doing almost nothing with the neck. Try and make all this work in the upper back, lifting the ribs, sinking the spine into the shoulder blades at the back of the body. And exhale, release down to the ground with the breath, folding forwards. And taking a few breaths here just to use this position and the weight of the body going forwards to stretch out the lower back. Inhale up from the ground. Exhale back down to the ground. We're going to make our transition now to either lying on the mat or staying in a chair. And once you're in position, just lying or sitting quietly for a few moments before we continue with our practice. Now placing the hands on the abdomen, feeling the in-breath as you breathe up from the ground, moving the belly up or out. And as you exhale, feel the belly moving back down towards the spine as you breathe down to the ground. And exaggerate the exhale by drawing the tummy muscles in. Breathing in, take the arms overhead, and breathing out, bring the palms back, draw the tummy in. Inhale, up from the ground, arms overhead or in the air. Exhale, hands to navel, engage the tummy muscles. Work at your own pace, following your breath. This engagement of the tummy muscles at the end of the exhale helps to strengthen core muscles, and they in turn contribute to this sense of stability and foundation and grounding in our physical body. And then if you're on the mat, bringing the knees in over the chest, rocking from side to side to release from that practice. And then if you're in a chair, you're going to be circling the upper body around the pelvis, and if you're on the mat, you're going to circle the knees, marking out the back of the pelvis. And both of these help to release the lower back. If you want to work a little more strongly, if you're on the mat, you can do this movement without holding the legs. That will work some more of your abdominal muscles. Keep breathing up and down from the ground as you begin to mobilize the spine in this way. And now we're going to take hold of the right leg, holding the shin or the thigh, and rotate the ankle. A little bit of pointing and flexing of the ankle as well. And doing the same on the left foot. Don't worry about any clicks. And keeping that same steady breath in and out through the nose, up and down from the ground. Now with the right knee drawn in, we're letting the knee release away on an inhale and drawing the thigh in towards the chest on the exhale. And you can hold the shin, hold the thigh, or use a belt. If you do this with the left leg straight, if you're on the mat, it makes for a slightly stronger stretch into the hips. And then pause for a moment between the right leg and the left leg. And then do exactly the same on the left side. Keeping the knee bent and the foot flat on the floor. But if you want to move towards straight leg, if you're on the mat, you can do so. Inhale, breathing up from the ground, release the knee away from the body. Exhale down to the ground, draw the knee in. And if you're on the mat, you're really feeling a lot more contact with the ground because you're lying down now. And now the knees are in over the chest if you're on the mat. And as you exhale, use the tummy muscles just to lift the very tip of the tailbone into the air. Try not to use the arms to help. And if you're in a chair, you're just squeezing and tightening the muscles in the pelvic floor as you breathe out and relaxing them as you breathe in. We'll just think of that as the muscles around the hips. Now we're going to open the hips. If you're lying on the mat, you can do both hips at the same time with one hand on each knee, taking big wide circles. And if you're in the chair, do one hip at a time. Inhale, breathing up from the ground. Exhale, breathing back down to the ground. And the direction of these circles can be changed so you can come back the other way as well. And then release from that practice. And now we're going to do a full body stretch. If you're on the mat, stretch through the arms and the legs, breathing up from the ground. And exhale, soften the arms and the legs. And if you're in the chair, inhaling, lifting the arms, but tensing the whole of the body from the hips up as you breathe up from the ground. And exhale, breathe down to the ground and soften. Think of that inhale up from the ground breath as being strong, involving a lot of muscle work, and the exhale down to the ground being the release of all tension in your body. And then, having explored this contrast between tension and relaxation, we're just going to magnify that a little bit by holding onto the stretch. So round about the next time your arms go up in the air or overhead, you're going to hold the stretch and just keep breathing and stretching. You can change the feet from toes pulling back to toes pointing away. But feel like you're tensing the whole of your body, legs, abdomen, chest, arms. In the chair, a little bit less work in the legs, but still in the upper body. And at the end of 3 to 5 breaths, releasing into softness. We tend to do fewer breaths holding the stretch in a chair because it's more tiring to hold the arms up in the air. Breathing up and down from the ground, noticing how you feel, noticing that sense of connection between your body and the contact points to the ground. Doing another twist now, a dynamic twist, breathing in to center and exhaling, twisting in opposite directions. And if you're lying on the mat, the knees go one way, the head goes the other. And the same in the chair, but it's just the shoulders go one way and the head goes the other. Breathing up from the ground to come back to center, breathing down to the ground to release into this twist in 2 directions. And then you can take a little knees to chest if you're on the mat between sets of twists. Having done that dynamic twisting, we're now going to hold the twist. And if you're in a chair, you might want to go sideways on the chair as being shown here and hold the back of the chair to give yourself just a little bit more twist in the shoulders with the help of the arms. But don't overdo this, particularly if you have any lower back issues. Breathing up from the ground, releasing even more deeply into the twist as you exhale back down to the ground. And when you finish these twists to either side, just folding forward from the chair or hugging the knees in if you are on the mat. So now we're cross crawling, where it's opposite arm and leg. If you're lying down, start with the knees bent, feet flat on the floor, and as one arm goes overhead, the other leg comes in over the chest and stretches up. If you're struggling with the left and rights, you can begin with the arms and then the legs, and then put them together as is being shown here for the chair practice. Keep the movement smooth and flowing with your breath, and feel like you are still breathing up from the ground, particularly breathing up through the foot that remains on the ground as you do this stretch. And then hug the knees in, rock from side to side, or take a little forward fold if you're in the chair. Now we have a little bit of a strengthener for some muscles that are important for walking, for locomotion. So if you're in a chair, you're just going to alternately lift and lower the bent leg. And if you're on the mat, you can do the same, but you can make this practice stronger by either taking the heel a little bit further away from the hip, or indeed having the leg completely straight. Inhale, lift, breathing up from the ground. Exhale, lower, and take the leg back down to the ground. You don't want to feel any pull on the lower back here. So if you feel that with the leg straight, then come back to the version with the knee bent. And release again, hug the knees in over the chest. And we're coming into our next practice now, and this is doing some pelvic tilts. If you're working in a chair, as you breathe in, you're going to feel the top of the pelvis moving forwards, and as you breathe out, top of the pelvis moving back. If you're lying on the mat, you're experiencing a sense of grounding as you exhale and bring the top of the pelvis back towards the floor. The lower back will flatten, and as you inhale, the top of the pelvis will just lift slightly off the floor. So the same movement, but a different sensation of grounding. And now we are moving on from that pelvic tilting to breathing in. And if you're lying on the mat with the knees bent and feet hip width apart, you're breathing in and lifting the hips up into the air, and exhaling back down to the ground and rolling the spine down onto the mat. And just make sure you've got nothing under the back of the head as you do that. Same movement in a chair, but you'll feel that by sliding the hands from the knees towards the thighs as you breathe in to bring the spine into this back bend position. Still breathing up and down from the ground. And release from that by hugging the knees in over the chest. And then we're going to hold the back bend this time, so lifting the pelvis, working the thighs, breathing a little more rhythmically, because we're using a lot more muscles here if you're working on the mat. And if you're in the chair, slightly less exerting, but still an effective back bend. And at the end of around 5 breaths, releasing down, hugging the knees in or folding forwards over the thighs. I'm going to stretch the back of the legs now, the hamstring muscles, by taking the belt round the right foot and working with the breath, bending the knee as we breathe in, breathing up from the ground, and breathing out, straightening the leg, stretching the back of the leg as you exhale back down to the ground. So if you're in a chair, you can continue to breathe in up through the left foot that's on the block or the floor, up to the lungs, and exhale down to the ground as you stretch. If you're lying on the mat, you might like to think of breathing up through the back of the body, up through the right leg, and exhaling from the right foot back down to the ground as you stretch that leg. And at the end of the fifth stretch, we're holding the stretch in the right leg and continuing to breathe steadily up and down from the ground. Take a little pause between the two sides. Notice the difference in sensations. And then coming onto the left leg and working in exactly the same way. Breathing in up from the ground, soften the knee, slacken the muscle. Breathing out, straightening the leg and stretching it. As we said in the week 1 class, this is a very efficient and effective way of lengthening these hamstring muscles. Instead of just taking them into a stretch where they're going to develop a lot of tension, we're just systematically releasing and stretching with the breath before we come into this static stretch now on the left leg. And just hold steady and breathe as you stretch. It's a little bit harder work holding the leg when you're sitting in a chair, so you don't have to do the full 5 breaths if that's feeling a little too strong for you. And taking a counter pose once you've done that left leg, and noticing the sensations in the 2 legs, which will now be more even. Inhaling up from the ground, exhaling back down to the ground. So our next practice is a hip opener called Thread the Needle. If you're in a chair and you're working gently, you're just going to elevate the foot on a block and rest the knee out to the side. If you're working on a mat, you can start with the foot quite a long way away from the hip and rest the right ankle on the top of the left thigh. And if your hips are quite open, you can bring the foot closer in or even lift it off the mat as being shown here. And the threading part is to reach with the arms around the left thigh as you open the right hip. But that can often be too strong for some people, and you need to be particularly careful with this one if you have any knee injuries. So here's a restorative version where you just release the knee to the side and prop it up on a blanket. And then you can go on to these stronger hip openers if appropriate. Inhaling up from the ground, exhaling, softening the hip and breathing back down to the ground. And when you've done both sides, take a counter pose, hug the knees in. And our next practice is the cat. And this can be done in the chair. We're trying to move the whole of the spine now. But make sure you don't overdo it in the neck and the lower back, and focus on the middle part of the back. If you're working on the mat, you can use the support of the chair if you have any wrist or shoulder issues, or you can be in this all fours position. And for those in a chair with knee issues, holding the back of the chair is another good option. So we're doing a lunge now, and if you're in a chair, you're just taking the left foot to the side and slightly elevating the right leg and tensing and relaxing the hip muscles with the breath. And if you're working on the mat, using the chair is a very effective way of taking a lunge position without having to rest a knee on the floor. But you can do this lunge with a knee on the floor if you don't have a chair. Breathing up from the ground and exhaling back down to the ground. Keep the spine lifted at all times. So we need to strengthen our backs, and we do that on the mat by lying on the front, resting the forehead on a yoga block, and then coming up into our first back bend, the Sphinx pose, where the forearms are on the floor and the elbows are slightly in front of the shoulders. And if you're in a chair, we lift the arms to this position with the breath, because it is very tiring to hold the arms in the air, but you're making a similar shape. Let's go a bit deeper if you're on the mat. Bring the elbows under the shoulders and make sure the front of the hips are remaining connected down to the ground, and keep the legs at least hip width apart. And then take a rest for a moment. These back bends can be quite challenging if your spine is not used to moving in that direction. For those working in the chair, if you can, kneel on a padded blanket and use the chair. This is a halfway house between working in a chair and working fully on the mat. So the next back practice is a strengthener. If you're lying on your front, take the arms quite wide and in front of the shoulders, and then use the back muscles as you breathe in up from the ground to lift the shoulders and the tummy off the mat, and exhaling down to the ground, releasing the body back down. And a similar thing in the chair. And if you're not coming off the chair, you can just lean forwards and then use the back muscles to raise the spine up and lift the elbows off the thighs, as is being shown here. Really important to strengthen the back for good posture and to build up enough strength there to support yourself and hopefully avoid lower back conditions. So taking a little rest, pose of the child for those on the mat, or just folding forward if you're in a chair. To strengthen the glutes, it's a little bit tricky to do this in the chair, but we just take the leg out to the side and again squeeze and tighten the glute muscles, the hip muscles as you breathe in, exhale, release them. And if you're lying on your front, lifting the leg with the breath and lowering it on the exhale back down to the ground. Doing one leg at a time, working with alternate legs and avoiding bending the knee, and making sure you keep the whole of the front of the pelvis rooting down to the ground at all times. If you can kneel, and you're normally working in a chair, kneel on some padding, a pillow or a blanket, and then you can do a very similar movement of stretching and lowering alternate legs to develop the same strength in the glutes. Breathing in up from the ground, exhaling back down to the ground. And then take rest. So we've got a downward dog here now. You can tuck the toes, inhale and exhale, pushing up into the pose and breathing in, lengthening the spine, keeping the knees bent, and exhale, lower. So it's a little 4 breath sequence if you're working on the mat from all fours with the hands slightly in front of the shoulders. And if you're in a chair, Take the arms up into a similar position as you breathe in, but just extend one leg at a time. Inhaling and exhaling. So if you're in the chair, exhale, arms up, lift the leg, inhale, hold position, exhale, lower. Same breathing pattern as the people on the mat are doing, a 4-breath sequence. This is quite strong on the wrists and the shoulders, so again the chair can be used to shift some of that weight away from the arms and back towards the feet. But it is the same pose and the same breath sequence. Inhale, exhale, inhale, hold the pose, exhale, release. And some patients can't take any weight in the knees who've got any arthritis going on, so holding the back of the chair, keeping the knees bent, will give you a lot of the benefits of this pose in terms of spine lengthening. Really good one to experience grounding both the hands and the feet, and at times the knees are on the floor, and then using the exhale to push away from the floor from the ground and experience this different relationship to the ground in downward facing dog. And then releasing yourself from that pose. So now we're going to do a little bit of release for the wrists and the shoulders after all that weight bearing in the cat and the dog. And these can be done in a variety of ways, rotating the wrists, circling them, flexing and extending them, stretching out the fingers, making soft fists. And then giving the wrist a shake, letting the arms hang and focusing a bit more on the shoulders, just doing some nice shoulder shrugs with your breath until shoulders and arms feel released. And then breathing in, sweep the arms up, reconnect to that full breath, breathing up from the ground, and exhale, hands slide down to the heart center and release. We're going to add in some footwork here, so as the arms sweep up, lifting the toes. And as the arms come down, lower the toes. And then when you take the arms next up, lift the heels. And exhale, lower the heels. So really awakening the feet and finding this new connection to the ground through the feet. And then developing that connection with this work on the feet. So here we come to sun salutations, breathing in, open the chest, exhale, folding forwards. Inhale, flatten the back. Exhale, go a little bit deeper into the forward bend. Inhale, bend the knees, flat back, sweep the arms up, open the heart. Exhale, palms together. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, side bend by swaying to the right. Inhale to center. Exhale, bring the hands down to the heart. Inhale, arms back up. Exhale, sway to the left. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, hands to heart. This sequence becoming very familiar now. Breathing in, open up, breathing up from the ground. Exhale, breathe down to the ground through the feet. Inhale, lift the spine. Exhale, down to the ground and fold. Inhale, breathe up from the ground, open the chest, release the shoulders. Exhale, palms together. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, sway right. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, sway left. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands to heart. So just continue. We've got up to 3 more sun salutations. And you can do these at your own pace. Just keep that focus of breathing up and down from the ground. Those of you with any reason not to take the head lower than the heart, that's where taking the hands onto the thighs can really help you when you come into the forward bend. And you can still straighten the legs to take a stretch there, but keep the head level with the heart. And if you've got any shoulder issues, you don't have to reach the arms all the way overhead. You can just take them up round about to the thumbs level with the forehead, or anywhere that's comfortable. Don't want to be in any pain as you do any of your yoga practice. Exhale down to the ground. Inhale up from the ground. Exhale down to the ground. Really notice the points of contact through the feet if you're standing, through the feet and the hips if you're working from a chair. Begin to feel that this practice of sun salutations is becoming a bit more like moving with the breath, more than just physical exercise or physical practice. So you're beginning to transcend the physical body, to guide it with breath, and to feel something different, to feel like you're working from this sense of connection to the earth, this connection to the ground through your feet. And if you can do that, it will really help to support the benefits of this class and this way of working. So we're doing our last round now. You might not be doing all 5. So if you've stopped practicing, just take a few moments to stand or sit still and steady your breath, ready for the practice that follows. The next practice is the warrior. If you're in a chair, just take the left leg off to the side and breathing in, opening the palms. We can use the back of the chair to support you. If you're working from a standing position, as we said last week, it's really important to keep the feet hip width apart, to not turn out the back foot. And as you breathe in and separate the arms and bend the right knee, that knee just tracks the toes and doesn't go beyond the ankle. Then really feel like you're opening the chest and releasing the shoulders as you breathe in and breathe out, breathing up and down from the ground. And at the end of the 5th practice, changing sides and working in the same way. Palms open, breathing in, open the chest, breathe up from the ground. Exhale, breathe down from the ground. Legs straighten, palms together. The warrior pose has this quality of steadiness and courage, which is really appropriate to our theme of an enhanced experience of grounding and connection down to the earth. So when you've done 5 on each side, just releasing for a moment, pause, notice how you feel. Then we're going to move on to doing Warrior 2. If you're on the mat, taking the feet a little bit wider, turning the right thigh and the right foot out, only about 70 degrees. You want that right knee as it lunges to track the second toe. So don't turn the foot out too far. And then as you breathe in, bend the knee, extend the arms, turn the head. Exhale, palms together. As soon as you've got the movement, and you can use the chair as a support if you're coming out of the chair for this one. As soon as you've got the movement, let it become breath-led. And really feel yourself breathing up from the ground as you extend into the pose, and breathing down to the ground as you come back to the center of the body. And then pausing for a moment between sides, notice how that feels. And then separating the feet again, turning the left hip open and moving in and out of this pose with the breath in the same way. The legs feel strong and active. Both thighs are rotating in an outward direction. And we're doing a lot of stretching and strength work in the legs. But through the spine, you just want to feel length. You want to feel the head is perfectly balanced on the top of the spine, and that the arms are extending from soft and spacious shoulders. Inhale up from the ground, extend. Exhale, back to the ground. You can see that as we move through the course, this movement is going to become more and more meditative in quality. And then release from that pose. And again, notice how you feel. We're going to come into our balance now, the heron balance. Breathing in, taking the arms away from the body, and just beginning to shift the weight from leg to leg. And as we always say, if you can come out of the chair and hold the back of the chair for this one, that is going to be a much better place for you to work on your balance. The footwork we're doing here, if you're in a chair, is still going to help a little bit, but nowhere near as much. So the chair really is preferred as a support for those who would normally work from a seated position. breathing up from the ground, lifting one leg. Exhale back down to the ground and lower it. We're going to work through these balances during the 10 weeks, and this is a really good place to work in week 2. So we're showing the tree pose next. There's no need to do that yet. If you are going to do a very simple version of just turning the hip and the knee and the foot out. If you're being taught this class live by a Yoga for Health teacher, they wouldn't teach you the tree pose in week 2. They'd leave that to about week 5 or week 6. So this is just to show you what can be done going forwards. And held balances are much more difficult and challenging than lifting and lowering with the breath. So again, give yourself the opportunity to work towards this rather than rushing into it. So our closing pose is a mild inversion, using the chair to support the lower legs. If you have a yoga block, place that under the hips and a cushion under the head so the back of the neck is neutral and long. And if you're in a chair, you can put your feet up on another chair if you have one. Let your breath steady, still breathing up and down from the ground. My colleague Leanne Antonia will now guide you through your relaxation, so make yourself as comfortable as you can.
Use this opportunity now to make yourselves very, very comfortable. You can take your relaxation pose either completely lying down on the floor, maybe in a semi-supine position with the knees bent and the soles of the feet on the floor. You can of course also take this in a chair if that would be more comfortable for you. As you start to get yourself into your comfortable position for your relaxation, you can start to just notice your natural breathing. Noticing the inhale, the exhale. Noticing the inhale and the exhale. The inhale and the exhale. Inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling. Now direct your attention to your right heel. Feel the right heel on the ground. Notice the right heel on the ground. Take an inhale here from the ground through the right heel up into the lungs. And exhale, breathe right down, breath travels back through the body from the right heel into the ground. Take another inhale, breathing up from the ground into your right heel. Exhale, allow that breath to travel back down through the body, through the right heel, into the ground. Notice your right calf. Your right calf is on the ground. The right calf is being supported by the ground. Breathe up from the ground into your right calf and breathe out from the right calf back to the ground. Take an inhale up from the ground into your right calf and exhale, allow the breath to travel back from the right calf back to the ground. Feel the back of the right thigh on the ground. The right thigh is on the ground. Inhale from the ground into the right thigh and exhale out of the right thigh into the ground. Breathe in from the ground into your right thigh and exhale from the right thigh back to the ground. Feel the right buttock on the ground. Notice the touch of the right buttock on the ground. Inhale from the ground into the right buttock and exhale from the right buttock into the ground. Inhale from the ground into the right buttock and exhale, breathe out of the right buttock back to the ground. Notice your left heel, the heel of the left foot. Notice how the left heel is supported by the ground. Inhale from the ground into the left heel and exhale out of the left heel into the ground. Take another deep breath in from the ground into your left heel and exhale out of the left heel back down to the ground. The left calf is on the ground. The left calf is supported by the ground. Inhale from the ground into the left calf and exhale out of the left calf back to the ground. Inhale from the ground into the left calf and exhale out of the left calf back to the ground. Notice the left thigh. The left thigh is on the ground. Inhale from the ground into the left thigh and exhale from the left thigh back to the ground. Take another inhale up from the ground into the left thigh and exhale, breath travels from the left thigh back to the ground. Notice your left buttock. Your left buttock. Inhale from the ground into the left buttock and exhale out of the left buttock back down to the ground. Inhale from the ground into your left buttock. Exhale back down from your left buttock back to the ground. Your lower back may be on the ground or even slightly lifted away from the ground. Notice the contact between the lower back and the ground. Inhale from the ground into the lower back, and from the lower back, exhale back to the ground. Inhale from the ground into the lower back, and from the lower back, exhale into the ground. The middle back is touching the ground. Feel the middle back in contact with the ground. Inhale up from the ground into the middle back. Exhale from the middle back into the ground. Inhale from the ground into the middle back. Exhale from the middle back into the ground. Notice the upper back. The upper back is touching the ground. Feel the touch of the upper back on the ground. Inhale from the ground into the upper back and exhale from the upper back into the ground. Inhale from the ground into the upper back and exhale from the upper back into the ground. The right shoulder blade is on the floor. Notice the contact of the right shoulder blade and the ground. Inhale from the ground into the right shoulder blade and exhale from the right shoulder blade into the ground. Inhale from the ground into the right shoulder blade. Exhale from the right shoulder blade into the ground. Gently move your attention to your left shoulder blade. Notice the support of the left shoulder blade on the ground. Inhale from the ground into the left shoulder blade and exhale from the left shoulder blade back to the ground. Inhale from the ground into the left shoulder blade and exhale from the left shoulder blade into the ground. The right hand is on the ground. Feel the touch of the right hand on the ground. Breathe up from the ground into the right hand and breathe back down through the right hand into the ground. Inhale up from the ground into the right hand and exhale out of the right hand back to the ground. The right forearm is on the ground. Notice the touch between the right forearm and the ground. Inhale from the ground into the right forearm and exhale through the right forearm into the ground. Inhale from the ground into the right forearm and exhale through the right forearm into the ground. The right elbow is on the ground. Feel the touch of the right elbow on the ground. Breathe up from the ground into the right elbow and exhale from the right elbow into the ground. Breathe up from the ground into the right elbow and exhale from the right elbow into the ground. The right upper arm is on the ground. Notice the touch of the right upper arm on the ground. Inhale from the ground into the right upper arm and exhale from the right upper arm back to the ground. Inhale from the ground into the right upper arm and exhale from the right upper arm into the ground. Feel the right shoulder on the ground. Notice the weight of the right shoulder against the ground. Breathe in from the ground into the right shoulder and exhale from the right shoulder into the ground. Inhale from the ground into the right shoulder and exhale from the right shoulder into the ground. Gently move your attention to your left side, specifically to your left hand. Notice the touch of the left hand against the ground. Breathe up from the ground into the left hand and exhale back down from the left hand into the ground. Inhale up from the ground into the left hand and exhale out of the left hand back to the ground. The left forearm is on the ground. Notice the touch of the left forearm and the ground. Inhale from the ground into the left forearm and exhale through the left forearm into the ground. Inhale from the ground into the left forearm and exhale through the left forearm into the ground. The left elbow is on the ground. Feel the touch of the left elbow on the ground. Breathe up from the ground into the left elbow and exhale from the left elbow into the ground. Inhale from the ground into the left elbow and exhale from the left elbow back to the ground. Notice the left upper arm touching the ground. Feel the touch of the left upper arm against the ground. Inhale from the ground into the left upper arm and exhale from the left upper arm back to the ground. Inhale from the ground into the left upper arm and exhale from the left upper arm back to the ground. Feel the left shoulder on the ground. Notice the weight of the left shoulder on the ground. Breathe in from the ground into your left shoulder and exhale from the left shoulder into the ground. Inhale from the ground into the left shoulder. Exhale from your left shoulder back down to the ground. Feel the touch of the back of the head on the ground. The back of the head is supported by the ground. Feel the weight of the back of the head against the ground. Inhale from the ground into the back of the head and exhale from the back of the head into the ground. Inhale from the ground into the back of the head and exhale from the back of the head into the ground. The whole body is on the ground. The whole body is supported by the ground. Notice the touch of your whole body on the ground. The whole body is supported by the ground. The whole body is on the ground. The whole body is supported by the ground. Feel the touch of the whole body on the ground. That concludes the relaxation practice to accompany week 2 of the Yoga for Health course.
Take your time to make your way back up onto a chair. Or if you've been relaxing on the mat and you would rather sit cross-legged, you can do that as well. We're coming into our final breathing practice now, so it's really important that the spine is upright and supported. So if you're finding that that's difficult to do sitting on the mat, then sit on a yoga block or a cushion, or make the choice to come back up to the chair. Keep your eyes closed or downcast and tune into exactly how you feel right now, and notice the quality of your breath. You've been breathing in and out through the nose throughout this class and breathing up and down from the ground. And we're going to continue with that practice for just a few minutes longer. So feel the touch of the body on the ground, the feet on the floor, the hips on a chair or on the floor or a yoga block. Rest the palms in a comfortable position. Have the spine upright, but the body is not tense. Shoulders are released. Head is balanced on the top of the spine. As you breathe in, drawing breath up from these points of contact with the ground, and as you breathe out, breathing back down to the ground, breathing up to the lungs, up to the center of the chest, exhaling back down to the ground. Keep the breath flowing slowly and steadily in and out of the nose, unless the nose is blocked. Inhale, breathing up from the ground. Exhale, breathing down to the ground, enhancing that sense of connection, of stability, of foundation. We are all connected to the ground, and the more we can focus and expand that sense of connection, it has an effect not only on our bodies and the steadiness and poise of our posture, but it also has an effect on the mind, helping us to steady the mind and enable us to deal with life and all its challenges from this sense of being grounded and in a firm foundation. In your own time, just continue to breathe up and down from the ground with the best possible quality of breath that you can find within yourself after your practice of yoga. Then just finish the breath you're on and let go of that practice and that visualization of connection to the ground, but take a moment to reflect on exactly how you feel. Do you feel more connected, steadier, more grounded? Has the practice worked for you? We encourage you to do some yoga practice every single day between the sessions of this course, so that over the 10 weeks you build up a resource bank of home practice in which the different practices that we cover on this course become embedded in your own personal practice and become part of your own yoga toolkit that you can draw on at any time to bring about the health and the mental steadiness and state of equanimity that we hope to promote by completing this course. So when you're ready now, blinking, open the eyes and preparing to face whatever you have to come for the rest of this day. And thank you for joining me for this class. And I hope to see you in the next class, in the week 3 class. Until then, goodbye. And don't forget to keep home practicing. So this is a self-care yoga toolkit program, and we're teaching you techniques that we want you to use in your everyday life to help you relax and to build resilience. So if you don't have much time, then just practice for 5, 10 or 15 minutes, but try to do something every day. It will make a big difference to the amount of transformation you experience. Thanks.